Part of what corporations and brands are going for with this visual marketing is they want to make sure that they can entice more people. So Forbes article on visual marketing in 2022 cited that visuals are processed by the brain 60,000 times faster than text.
The intentional wardrobe movement, TIWM, stands for
T, take back your style.
I, intentionally shop.
W, wear it, work it, or wave goodbye.
And M, matter.
And you can check out more details in our description. Hi, welcome to the Intentional Wardrobe Movement. Today, we're going to talk about how does visual marketing impact our desire to buy more? What can you do to combat it? How does visual media increase our desire to buy? We live in an information-rich society where the consumer is bombarded with stimuli daily. Much is geared toward trying to get us to buy more. What is visual marketing? What is meant to be achieved by the seller? How does it tap into our desire to buy? And finally, how can we wean ourselves off the visual addiction to practice more intentional shopping?
Ooh.
Welcome.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. So I just want to start off at first by defining visual marketing. What does that really mean to you?
I guess when I consider visual marketing, I think of visuals like images, videos. Even I looked it up and there's like, what did they say? Attractive models.
Yeah, attractive. Yes,
Attractive
exactly.
models.
Something that we would be interested in, sort
yeah.
of stopping us in our tracks to
even
really focus on, right?
Bright colors.
Yes.
And then idealized lifestyles.
I like idealize. That's a really important word when we're talking about visual marketing. I actually look at Pulkit Jain, who wrote in an article in 2018 that visual marketing has actually evolved over time and what that definition means. To quote, visual content marketing refers to using visuals that include images and videos with inspiring and educational text, branded images which promote the video, audio, and written content, infographics, and other related images and videos.
Yeah, infographics too.
Yeah, infographics. So I think that's pretty important. But, ultimately something that's inspiring, that's appealing, that we seem to latch on to. Those eyeballs just can't seem to peel themselves away. It leads me to ask the question, what do you think visual marketing is really meant to achieve?
Yeah, so I actually do think visual marketing is visual storytelling, and it's meant to evoke an emotion. And because Journal of Consumer Research in 2017 showed that it actually increased impulse buying by 27%. So, they are trying to get you locked in with their story and their visual, like whatever they're trying to do with their visual storytelling. That's the whole point, is to try to get you to purchase whatever they're selling.
Right. And I love that you're saying that it directly translates to an outcome, because ultimately that's really what they're going for. And I think with the word storytelling that you used, to me, it evokes this concept of, I think of the Croods. We are parents. Who hasn't watched that film if you are a parent? And, storytelling is a big part of just the human genome. I think we are social animals, how we react to things. And that's really how we've passed lore down past our experience as humans through the ages. So the fact that you used the word storytelling was really just sort of connected deep down with me, in terms of like, it's almost a basic need of the human being to have this way of sharing within a community, one-on-one with other humans, through the act of storytelling.
That's how the Bible was written.
Right.
It's all stories.
It's stories.
Lots of stories.
And you know what? That's been around for just a little bit of time.
Just a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, I wrote down a couple of things. I said convey a complex message quickly. So when you can do it through images, it's a lot more direct. The old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Yeah. And it really is. And I think that we've just developed this way of being able to hone our skills as storytellers
Yeah.
through this visual way of storytelling. Enhance emotion. We talked about emotion,
Yeah.
but really brand reinforcement.
Mhm.
That's something that I also thought of.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because the visual marketing sets forth this concept of a brand, right? You're talking about colors, you're talking about logos, fonts. It's really conveyed very quickly, because if you see a visual picture of a Coke can, if it's red and white, you immediately latch onto that, right?
Right.
So, we know red and white, and it's a can, or a bottle, that's a Coca-Cola. So they've done a really good job with that visual. Also, I say that it's really there. What's it meant to achieve? Increase retention, which is interesting. You talked about, increasing sales, but it's also about retention.
That's a good point. Yes.
So if we think about the world of influencers,
Yes.
and someone who is very influential in terms of being able to tell a story quickly, part of what corporations and brands are going for with this visual marketing is they want to make sure that they can entice more people. So Forbes article on visual marketing in 2022 cited that visuals are processed by the brain 60,000 times faster than text.
Oh yeah.
So people are able to retain that information much quicker than if you were to write it in words.
I mean, it makes sense. So when you think about some of the ancient cultures, like Egyptians and even Chinese, like their stories are in pictures. It's all pictures versus like text. I mean, there were hieroglyphics, but I mean, still, a lot of the ancient cultures had like pictures as their stories.
Absolutely. If you think about going into, Chichen Itza or the Incan Empire, you can see that there are actual visuals on walls, on caves, y'all, where you can see the story. And we, even now, can process that message. So absolutely. I think that's what I was saying. It sort of draws from that base humanoid, desire. And also something I put down there is fosters engagement with a wider audience. So I think when you present something, and I would definitely deflect this, question to you, when you present something visually, because you've had the experience of, what works and better and what doesn't work, when you write information in a blog versus when you create a visual campaign, we don't all speak the same language.
Yeah.
So if you write it in Chinese, I don't speak Chinese. If I wrote it in Spanish, you don't speak, well, you may speak. I don't know.
Spanglish.
She speaks, well, so do I. I'm Mexican-American. I'm Tex-Mex. Tejana, una tejana. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can't convey the same kind of message. So you can culturally sort of broaden that gap.
Yeah.
And actually increase those sales, because that's what it's really going for, right?
No, it's true, because sometimes you can see the emotion, and if you watch a foreign film, you can see the emotion even if you can't understand anything they're saying. You can totally see it. So
I am totally into my foreign films too, y'all. I'm like really into it. And I do want to watch the acting. So the visual for me is so important, maybe because I can process that 60,000 times faster. But I do find myself, when I'm watching a foreign film, I lose sight of the translation at the bottom, because I'm in the moment and I want to express those feelings. So I guess it works.
It does.
I guess it works for me. Okay, so I want to just hear a little bit. So how does visual marketing tap into your desire to consume?
Okay, well, I have two other ways that are not as positive as yours, maybe, but because it's interesting, because it apparently visual marketing can create FOMO, like fear of missing out, and apparently this really appeals to millennials and Gen Z. So a psychological study paper revealed from 2020 revealed that FOMO induced through visual social media marketing increases consumption behavior by 40%. Especially in Gen Z and millennials. So
it's funny that you say this. I have a Gen Zer and I have a Gen Alpha in my house. So things are crazy. You can imagine the language that is Skibbity, Ohio, toilet whiz. Right. All of you know. But the Gen Zer, who speaks differently, the FOMO is strong. Like, it is so interesting that you say this. And you're right. Maybe my my mind was thinking about something a little, because we are not Gen Z or millennial.
No.
But I think that that's a really good point. We all, and even I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I log in and I see somebody getting their amazing Himalayan Birkin unboxing, and I'm like, well, I didn't, Olivia, I didn't get one of those. Why? Call him up right now and send him a text. Even I received that when the whole concept, I gotta say, the unboxing, like maybe just unboxings as visual marketing is a really interesting way of tapping into that FOMO.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I can see two parts, only because I've done a lot of personal development. And so I used to be like, oh my gosh, I need that too. But now, in a different way, I kind of look at it like, oh, it's proof that it's possible. Like, she got it, so that means I can get it too. So that instead of thinking, okay, there's only one Himalayan Birkin within the whole DFW area, I'm thinking,
and it is not mine, y'all. It is not mine. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. So I think it's like, I'm like, okay, it's proof that I can get one too.
You know what? And that's a little bit of how we change our perspective. And really that's a how. So that's just leading us. We're just going right into the how. And I think that's good though, because we definitely want to let that go. If you're listening to us right now, it's part of the things that we do talk about. We talk about the good. We say it's the good, the bad, the taboo we bring up. And hey, I've admitted I have the little keeping up with the Joneses, but what a great way for me to just step back for a second and say, no, you know what? It is proof that one day I will get my offer for my Himalayan Birkin, and I'm going to have the money to pay for that. So readily available. So, it goes across the board. And I think that we've talked about this a lot in terms of, if you think positive thoughts, then more positive, vibes will come to you. And so what a great way to let go of that FOMO.
Yeah, or just try and change it a little bit.
I like it. That's definitely good. And then you said you had another thing.
Oh, just that it encourages the scarcity effect, like visual media. So like there's usually urgency, like the timing, or it's limited time or limited quantities. It's everything. Especially when you see something is limited, you're like, oh, well, I think I want that limited piece. And so that is the thing. And apparently it increases purchase intentions by 35% according to the Journal of Market Research. So these
I fall into this. I do when it's, I'm stalking something and I'm looking, and then they're just like they get me with that one item left. I always get caught up in this one item left over. And I sort of freak out about that because I can control myself until I know that it's going. So that is really interesting. So scarcity. And that you would think that someone who has spent several years in many academic institutions, the London School of Economics, come on, y'all, I know about scarcity, demand, and yet I always fall prey to that too. So that's a really good one, that it's grabbing those fears.
Yeah. No, it would always get me, like, these collabs are limited edition and, one-time things, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I need to buy it then now.
But I do have to say, on the opposite side of this, and I always go back to the Tiva Chloe collab, which y'all, Tiva and Chloe, if you're listening, can you please collab again? Because it was like $500. I texted her. I showed her the picture. I showed her the unboxing because I was so excited about this collab. Tiva, I'm a diehard Tiva girl. I know, with my age dress on, can't you imagine me wearing some Tivas? But if they have Chloe all over them, then I'm bound to do it. But no, for $500, I felt so stressed out. Like, I bought the first one, the ivory and the black, and then I wanted the pink after that with a little platform, y'all. It's so amazing. I waited because obviously I shouldn't have purchased two at the same time, but I got so stressed out when I started seeing the sizes going that I promptly went to Nordstrom and purchased me the pink ones. And I have to tell you, I did get a little hooked on the scarcity of it because I worried, what if Chloe and Tiva never collab again?
Right.
Which obviously I am here to tell you that you need to collab again. It was so vital to my existence as a human being. Those are two brands that I really love. Chloe, being one of the first French brands, like big fashion houses, to be certified. So, I mean, I was 1,000% behind all of this. But I completely fell into that. And again, it goes back to my caveman instincts. I just couldn't let it go. Like if I missed out on something that was once in a lifetime. Now, Chloe isn't going anywhere. Tifa's not going anywhere. I don't know why I thought that they would never collab again, but it really forced me to spend more. I wouldn't have bought 2 pairs. I didn't need a pink. I don't need more pink. I have a lot of pink shoes. I wear black all the time. But I always accessorize with a little bit of a color. And so I have a lot of pink shoes. So I didn't really need them. And so it got me outside of my box, which is, you're only supposed to shop intentionally and buy when you need it and replenish when you need something. So
no, but those are hard. Like, I mean, they truly are. Like sometimes I find out about the collabs after the fact and I'm like, oh, I missed that. Like, it is so disappointing to miss out. Like, I mean, this is maybe not as loved one, but the Birkenstock and Manolo ones, I thought they were so cute because they're like comfy, but they're kind of glam at the same time.
Oh no, Birkenstocks and Manolo. Okay, I didn't even know that collab happened.
And
y'all.
And I was like, I found out after the fact, and so I was kind of sad. But anyways, so these type of things where it's limited, the scarcity, I feel like those can really get you. Like, obviously, it's gotten us.
It's gotten us. I'm still talking about it. Now. See, I didn't know about Birkenstock and Manolos, but yeah, it really does. It works. And the weird thing is, I don't even know what those look like. Like you could be like, they are puke green. I'd be like, sold, done. I don't know what they created, but I will buy it. Right. So I don't know. That goes into brand recognition. Yes, that really goes into a lot of
that.
We are of the Sex and the City. Y'all, I lived in New York City in the time of Sex and the City, like the time in the 90s, y'all. That's how old I am. So that really goes back to, visually, they've done a really great job, Manolo Blahnik and Sex and the City and Birkenstock. Yes. Because when I saw Katie Holmes and those Boston Birkenstocks, I had to go out and buy me some because I was like, what? She looks so cute going to the flower market in LA. But I know exactly what I'm so clear as to what a Birkenstock and what Manolo Blahnik represent. Good job on your visual marketing. You guys have hooked me. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this really leads us to how. How does it tap into our desire to consume when we are talking about visual marketing?
How? There's so many ways.
Well, as a 2023 article from Yale stated, visual-based marketing works so well because it leverages the way the human brain works naturally.
Yes, I agree.
So this is one of those things that we've discussed color psychology, how it influences behavior. We've talked about, CopyMate actually states in a 2024 article, brands meticulously select colors to evoke specific emotions and associations, which can significantly influence a consumer's decision to engage with or purchase a product. So, obviously we're talking about using the human brain to get us to connect the dots to purchase, because in the end, this is really the what is they want us to buy. But, ultimately, it's just social proof that it's something cool, right? It's sort of like what you're saying, that base, but it's also like checking the box for, look, I'm a lemming and all the other lemmings are jumping off the cliff. What? That's so cool. I use the lemming experience a lot with my Gen Z, because it's like, yeah, jumping off the cliff seems so cool, Mom, the FOMO, but it's really, it's like something bigger takes over in our brains.
Yeah.
And it leads us to move forward with behavior that maybe we know we shouldn't jump off a cliff, but it's something in our brain flips and it influences how we behave.
I think it's done so seamlessly because they're doing the storytelling, which it evokes an emotion, and then there's the color psychology. So it's all done so seamlessly. And then with the brain recognition, that it's very easy to fall prey or fall into what they're trying to get you to do. It's just very easy.
Yeah. And then CopyMates, again, they say that research has consistently shown that content with relevant images or video receives 94% more views than content without it.
Oh, yeah.
And even when, you guys are going to laugh because I had no social media account. And when I started Brandwise Style, I had to start from zero, right? And my son, my good old Gen Z son was like, Mom, you're just yappy. And any of you with Gen Z would be like, oh yeah, yapping is a thing. You're just yapping. You're just yapping, which really meant I was just writing words. And he was like, nobody wants to see it. Just show a video. He was like, you could literally show a video of just like a funny cat. And I was like, what?
Those do well.
And he was like, for like 1 second, because I can't stay on it longer than a second. I decide I scroll up on your reel. But 94% more views if they just have a video instead of like a word. I'm a big quote person.
I love quotes.
I mean,
I love a good quote.
I did get her quote from the other day. I love it. It was inspiring. I hearted it. But I do a lot of yapping where I just put like a quote. But apparently this is, as we are learning today, not effective. So you'll get 94% more views if you just stop yapping and you put in a video of a cat.
But then like also you were talking about yapping. So I was thinking you were talking about talking because maybe it's our generation, but I like to see people talking. Because to me, I'm like, oh, there's the person. There's the person behind the brand. And she's telling me about like her style and what she stands for. And I like seeing that.
I love that you say this. My Gen Z son says to me, like my 15-year-old, he was like, Mom, nobody needs to see you. That's just like, that's clickbait. Nobody needs to hear you, the yapping. Like, they don't need to see you. And I was like, but if they saw a funny cat, he was like, yeah, I'd totally go in. I would use you as my personal stylist. I was like, okay, well, I don't work on men, just women. But I was like, okay, great. I guess I'm not reaching enough people because it is interesting. It is interesting.
Maybe
but
it's not of his demographic.
Maybe his demographic. Yeah,
maybe
no 15-year-olds are interested in personal styling by me. That's okay. That's okay. But, I think that ultimately this visual, and I do think, honestly, my personal thought is when I do see someone giving their 2 cents behind the camera, I am interested because you're right. The person behind the brand, you get a little bit of information, and a lot of these big luxury fashion houses, you don't get to see that. And so it is interesting to me why you're not seeing, the head designer for Chanel. Instead, I'm seeing a whole bunch of images of models in the latest Chanel collection. So why do you think it's that way?
I don't know. It's interesting that you brought that up because I was thinking of Schiaparelli, and we always see Daniel, and he's from Texas. And so I feel like I have way more of a connection with that brand because of that. We see him dressing his mother. I mean, and he has beautiful clothing.
This is an interesting, it goes back to what my Gen Z son said to me, which was like, Mom, the story behind the brand isn't, but it is interesting because that's how a lot of fashion brands are marketed. So do you, that is a good question. You saw who was, and we all know the change and I guess Dior just had a change in who's heading up their house.
I don't even know that.
I got that in the Business Vogue today. Didn't read it. Had long story, children late for school, life, right? Like life is always there. But it was like a brief message, but how would that change things? Do people really want to see that? Because I feel like these guys, these corporate marketing brand managers are doing a really good job. They're certainly looking at the statistics. So I wonder if I saw the people who were behind the brand.
Well, you know what? And actually I do wonder because whenever Carl passed and then Virgie took over, we never saw her. And then now she's out.
Right. And it is really interesting too, because especially with her, and they made such a big, finally, a big luxury French brand has a woman behind it, which honestly, that's a girl.
And she was right under him.
Yes, exactly. And it is really interesting. It was used to market, I think, but not she wasn't used.
Yeah, we never saw
And
her.
then when she left, it was like, oh my God. I mean, people were like, I saw people in tears
wow.
on Instagram. I was like, wow. I mean, I loved it, but I don't know if I just didn't know her very well, but I don't know. It is really interesting to me if that might be something that we see develop over time. And this is something that I really think about a lot. Like, we've lost our human connection to buying clothing. And if I did see more of her, or if I saw any, when the whole Bottega switched, when Daniel left Bottega and then he moved to Burberry, like, and now it's this nationalism happening with Burberry, would I be more behind this movement I'm not British. So I went to a British school for graduate school, but I'm not British. So maybe there's something being lost in translation, but maybe had they visually promoted him, I really wonder if that is something that's being analyzed from a visual marketing perspective, if there is going to be a change, if my Gen Z son is anything, apparently that's not, that's too yappy. So maybe that's why we're not seeing it.
Maybe so.
But it is interesting with our generation. I think the personalization of consumerism and buying, it used to be different. It used to be different back in our day. And so I have seen a big shift in the market, even though it is more playing on my fear of missing out versus my belief that these heads of house are really designing and working for me. And maybe this is why I am so crazy about my Tom Ford Gucci era. I'm just going to take it back. Always have to talk history here, but I was so connected to that brand and to Tom Ford. Now, again, Texan and all the good fun stuff, but I don't know if what I'm missing in this whole visual marketing is that I just want to come back and just feel like I know, like I just could, pull about what was the comment when I could have a coffee with him, or when I think it was with Obama and the presidential election. But it's like, how would you feel about it? Would you have coffee with him? Would I have a coffee with the new head of house for Gucci? I don't really know him much.
And that's actually, you brought up a really good point about your son, because maybe they are trying to market to a younger demographic, because I feel like Chanel definitely was or is.
Yes.
And
yes.
so,
with all the crop and
yes.
and styling the Chanel clothing in such a young way with the shorts that I wish I could wear, but I don't. Yeah,
it's modern.
It's very modern, and I think that's kept the brand current.
Yes.
And just coming from the luxury resale world, if you can create this longevity with your brand where you can span multi generations, then you've obviously won, because you look at somebody 70 plus, they're going to be buying Chanel. Right. You look at Gen Z, they're going to be doing it too, just more in, the bikini bra with a cropped jacket over it, right? With like 50 necklaces. So it'll be a different way. We'll wear a kitten heel.
Oh my God, but that's like a resurgence of the 90s. Oh, I love that.
Oh, yes, right. I do too. But yes, the resurgence of the 90s. I think a lot of that I know is tapping into my nostalgia. Mm-hmm. I know that they're hitting me where it hurts, because I really want to buy all of the re-releases. I turn to Gucci again, which I walked into Gucci. My mom was in town. We had some lunch, walked into Gucci, saw this amazing bag that wasn't launching until the 30th. And it got me, right? Because all these re-releases of this 90s nostalgia definitely hits me in a personal way. Oh. And it was visual. I went in and they were very much like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm really looking for, I have the normal tote. It's still being sold, the normal tote, but it's like 18 inches huge. I wanted something smaller. They reach in, they pull it, and they visually showed it to me. Like, oh, it's not being launched until the 30th. And I was like, well, that was a good technique. I really want to buy that now. I'm still thinking about it. I walked away.
But even that store, that particular Gucci store, it's designed in a certain way. There's like mauves and pinks. There really is color psychology. It's beautifully displayed. Like, everything is curated. I mean, just going in the store is an
It's my favorite
experience.
thing. I could just live Gucci, Fort Worth, Clear Fork. I could just live in your store all day long. We should have like a Brandy and Samantha. We should have a
Oh yeah,
TIWM
we should.
corner. And Gucci is super sustainable, so we love you. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely interesting how visually these are playing to the different generations and how it speaks to us. But in the end, no matter how it gets those heartstrings, they know visually is the way to go to get us.
Yes.
So that's
For
definitely
sure.
happening. But, you know, it really turns us to now having a little bit of a discourse of how. Like, how do we step back? You comment a little bit earlier where we need to take that negative longing and turn it into a positive, which states, oh, this just shows that I could be doing this in the future too.
Yes.
Right. Right. It's proof it's possible. Proof it's possible. Samantha.
Alliteration.
Yes. And it is important for us to know that, I think, because that's definitely a good how. But any other hows in your mind?
Yeah.
How we can combat this?
I mean, the one thing is actually to reduce, like, have a digital detox. And I actually had a little.
I have that too.
Oh yes,
I have. Okay, I didn't. Digital detox sounds so fabulous and sophisticated. I'm just going to dumb it down for y'all. I have turn off, screens. Literally, it's like set limits on screen time. Like it's just time to turn it off.
So
but
yes,
digital.
So yeah,
screen time. I mean, like let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
Y'all.
So this 2021 study in the Journal of Consumer Psychology showed a digital detox for 1 week. Those who did it for 1 week experienced a 25% reduction in impulse buying. So
okay, wait.
But so that's a week. And now I personally, what I do is I set a timer. So I'm only on Instagram like 30 minutes. I do get, sometimes I get stuck. Like I will get stuck on the cat videos.
You go down rabbit holes. I'm now getting
dog
like
videos.
Rando. I'm like pure Yorkies on my Instagram feed. You'd think it would be sustainable fashion, but I'm a Yorkie mom as well, who is also quite fashionable. He's a little accessory. 7 pounds. No, but I think you're right. I do try to limit myself on Instagram. Obviously, it's the only social media that I use. So I'm a little late to the game on that, but it can pull you in. But I also say there are some things that I do with my kids where you can actually buy some programs that can help you set those limits daily, weekly, monthly. And that's a great, turning the phone off itself is hard for me. We run businesses, we have children, we have partners. I think it would be really hard for me to do that, but you can do guided access. So there's some great programs out there where you can specifically tell yourself, I am not going to do this, or say, for the week, I am only going to allow myself 30 minutes a day for Instagram, and put it in, and it will shut you out until you'll get shut down. And then you'll see how many cat, dog videos, Yorkie mommy videos that you get sucked into, because it really is, it's very difficult to control yourself. And maybe just in having some sort of outside control set for you, it can help you acknowledge, admit, and accept this is really what I'm doing, even though in my mind I don't think I'm on it that long.
Right.
They'll give you reports once a week, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, because even if you don't have the app, the iPhone will tell you how much screen time you use a week.
That's true. And actually, Instagram, again, I don't know about the other ones. Instagram will tell you your statistics about how long you're staying on things. Yeah. So you've got to dig to get that information, but you can find it. So certainly utilize those. I think that's for me, that was the first thing I put down on here. So I agree with that. What other hows do you have for us?
The only other how I have is to reflect on why you want to buy it. And apparently, according to Consumer Behavior and Decision Making, the study in 2019, it shows that people who were prompted to reflect on why they're needing to buy a product decreased impulse buying by 30%. So if you actually think about it before just pressing like add to cart buy or automatically buy.
Yeah, and that is, that's our I in intentional shopping, right?
Yes.
So the wait the 3 days. So that's a great comment. And I said on mine, which is similar to, take the time to reflect. I say create a style roadmap, because I think when you take the time to reflect, not just on what one particular thing that you're buying, but when you really take the time to consider your style as a whole, you'll be able to determine what fits within that and not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So this is something that I offer through Brandwise Style. I've done it a lot with my clients. It's been really valuable to sit down and physically create a document. And that document takes into consideration function, what materials you like, what shapes you are drawn to. Oh, I mean, I have a neck thing. So I cannot have a turtleneck. I cannot have a mock neck. I see turtlenecks and mock necks that I really want. And at the end of the day, if I can refer back to that document and be like, in my roadmap, I've told myself, no, I don't like that. So I've told myself I have to wean myself off of plastic. So when you have it, it seems it's so hard. When you are able to say, these are the things overall for my style that I want for myself, it helps you curb the visual marketing.
Because I do my style identity, but I have words, but you have very detailed specifics about
it's
I don't like my, I love that.
Yeah. And you put it down. So it's a document, me, I'm lengthy, but I've done these, and it's a way to, it's like working with your personal trainer. Like when you first sit down with your personal trainer, they're going to measure you and they're going to say, this is where you're at. And then you sit down and say, what are my goals when I'm done with this personal training session? It's the same concept here. And you use it, write it down. It seems crazy. And you don't have to go to a personal stylist for this. This is, if that's not in your budget or if that's not something you have time for, I get it. I understand this, but you should take the time for yourself to have this personal reflection, because it really can go so far for you as a person. And if part of those goals are that you don't want to be tapping into this FOMO and you don't just want to be a tool for marketing, you want to take back your style. That's the T. Take it back. Take it back right now. So use the personal reflection to your advantage. And that's going to really be able to elevate you above some of this, because I've done it too. I have my roadmap. And it's something I do have to go back to every so often. And sometimes it'll change. Hey, okay, I'm having a baby late in life. Didn't realize that was going to happen. Sometimes these are not necessarily, 2 years ago, you built that plan. You didn't really realize that was going to happen. But you know what? It is a living, breathing document, just like you.
But that's just exactly. I was like, that's like you, because you're a person who's evolving and changing. Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes so much. But I love that.
Style roadmap.
Style roadmap. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can help. Okay. No, and they're great for yourself. So I hope you invest in yourself. And I think sometimes just taking time for you, this is not something, and I when I talk to folks who have never worked with a personal stylist before, you get very overwhelmed, I think, because you are seeing so much, and it is tapping into the brain waves, and you don't really know where to start. But take this opportunity to give yourself a little gift. I mean, this is like buying something for you. You are buying time. And by sitting down, reflecting, that is giving yourself something. So make it a priority. And, we get it. It might need to be on the calendar, 7 weeks from now. If you're into the Harvard, block calendar method, I'm with you. I do the color coding. And if it needs to go on the calendar in 7 weeks, then so be it. So
yeah, but if it's not on the calendar, it won't get done.
Absolutely. So make sure you give yourself some time. And then the last thing that I really put down here in terms of the how and how to take back your power here is establish a buying budget. And this is an interesting thing, because when I say the word budget, naturally people think, oh, that means money. And it does. I mean, this is something you should be doing. Sam and I talk a lot about budgets. I am all about this. This is my thing. yes, obviously you should do that for your own personal financial health. But I also mean in terms of items per month, items per season. So go a little bit beyond just, okay, I'm going to say because oftentimes the budget thing is sort of easy. It's like, do I have it? Do I have the money to buy the Himalayan Birkin that I'm going to get offered next week? Because I have positively believed it was going to happen. So sometimes that's an easier one to be like, yeah, well, I don't have that. I don't have $150,000 or whatever. So that's an easy one. But no, I'm going to say, oh, oops. I said I was going to only buy 5 things this season.
That's a really good point.
And when I get that offer, I'm going to have to say, no, Olivier, I cannot buy that anymore.
I have hit my number. I don't know. I would tell you to screw that budget for that 1 month.
I'm going to have to amend that budget this month if I get
this month, just subtract from next month.
It's true. But no, I mean, I think I want you to think broader in terms of what you consider your budget. And that's going to help you really be able to curb that brain tapping visual overload that we all get.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, because it's more finite versus
right. Yeah. And again, we are people too. So, and you're coming to us because you're really looking at how to practically do some of these things so that you can make change. The change does not have to be, I'm buying one thing for the year. It doesn't have to.
No.
If you can do that,
I mean,
you get like a round of golf claps, because that's great. I'm unable to do that, and I would love that. But this is also meant to be palpable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to be able to swallow it at the end of the day. If the sustainable pill is too large, it ain't going down that windpipe, y'all. Bite size. So make sure that you break it up, and you can really chew on it. So So Sam, what is our call to action this week?
Our call to action is actually part of our TIWM, and it is to intentionally shop. So basically, you should set goals monthly, which you did talk about, budget financially and with actual numbers, and then wait 3 days before purchasing. And then if one goes in, one comes out. And the 3 days thing actually has worked. I've done that before multiple times now. And I put things in my cart and just left them on the page. And then I realized I actually didn't need it, or I had something so similar it could have passed. So it's the waiting the 3 days.
It's true. And here's the thing. Don't give yourself an out and be like, well, if I leave it in the cart, it's on sale. It's not going to be on sale next week. Now, this has happened to me where I left it in the cart, and then on day 4, I've come back and been like, oh, I want to buy that. It has gone off of sale. Kuyana, I'm looking at you. Y'all are killing me with that sale.
It's technically not a sale.
I'm waiting for payday. And then it goes off of that 10% or whatever. And I want to kick myself. But what I have to say is, interestingly enough, did I want to buy it because it was on sale? And did I really need it? I didn't buy it. Right?
Well, that's the thing about my sale things. Like, are you willing to pay full price for that item? If not, do you really need it?
I didn't really need it. And at the end of the day, although I'm like kicking myself on that, I didn't really need it. Yeah. So, the wait 3 days is, I think this is an important one, y'all. Intentional shopping. It's something that we all have to learn how to do. And this is a really great time to just start that.
Right. And when you're learning, you're practicing. So we're practicing all the time.
We are. And sometimes we need each other. Sometimes we need to send each other the picture of the Chloe sandal and be like, am I really spending $500 on this? And your friend will say to you, yes, you do. Because
if you're going to wear them,
you live in Tiva and you live in Chloe. So there it is. That's it. That is the advice. So.
That's like me telling you, okay, switch over that piece for the next month if they offer you the Himalayan Birkin.
Right. Exactly. This is what friends are for. And that's what we are here. That's what we're here. That is what we are here for at the Intentional Wardrobe Movement. We hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. Yes. You found it useful. And we hope that you hit that subscribe button and you listen or watch or both to the next one. Thanks so much.
Cheers to a conscious closet. Bye.
Bye.